So the Lucid Air lineup is almost complete with the upcoming edition of the Lucid Air Pure and the Lucid Air Touring. So if you happen to find yourself in Beverly Hills next week, do yourself a solid and stop by the Lucid studio where you're gonna be able to see the complete Air lineup together in the same place for the first time ever. Check that out. Oh, and tell them that Gearbox Pizza sent you. And I mean, I'm sure they'll treat you. Yeah, and maybe don't do that. What's up, motorheads, and welcome back to Gearbox Pizza. Today we're talking about just all sorts of juicy Lucid info. Every spec is about to be out there in the wild. We'll do a quick overview of all the trims as there's quite a range. I mean, look, you can spend between 90 grand and to like well over $250,000 on one of these. So let's get right to the good stuff. And by good stuff, let's talk about the cheap one because, well, yeah, these things are expensive, like stupid expensive, but yeah, you actually do kind of get a lot of car for your money. So the cheap one's called the Lucid Air Pure, and it starts at an already out of reach for most of us $87,000. Yeah, let me say that again. The cheap one starts at a whisker under 90 grand. Anyway, so while we'll have to wait a bit to get all the details regarding this Blue Light Special, there's a few things we already know. It'll have a dual motor and all-wheel drive configuration that's going to make it plenty robust, like 480 horsepower. Yep, I mean, look, it's all sort of relative considering how much power the Sapphire makes, but then again, you'll be able to buy 2 Lucid Air Pures for the price of 1 Sapphire, and you'll have enough cashola left over to take the fam to the Caribbean. Unless you're on the West Coast, in that case, you're probably better off going to Hawaii or someplace in Mexico. I mean, you factor in the flights and layovers and the time change, just stay out west. Oh, and you'll be able to notice the base level Pure by the fact that it's gonna have an all metal roof instead of that giant canopy of glass. And I'll be honest here, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I mean, it's obvious that this is done for cost cutting, but that glass roof is just so cool and iconic. I mean, that alone might cross this one off the list, and you might find me digging through the sofa cushions trying to make up the difference. I mean, look, I don't know, am I wrong here? I mean, you sort of just have to go with the glass roof, right? I mean, what do you guys think? Then again, this version might actually be a godsend for those of you living basically on the surface of Mercury, or otherwise known as the American Southwest.
Wow, 750 degrees in Gila Bend right now. And 1,270 in Ahwatukee now.
Yep, I mean, anybody from Scottsdale, for example, yeah, that sun can be a bastard. And as tinted as these roofs are, I just don't think they're gonna cut it for like serious desert living, especially if you're, well, like thinning on the dome a little bit, if you know what I mean. All right, so moving along, the next step up is the Lucid Air Touring. And now we're in the 6-figure territory and we are not going back. So hold on to your wallets. And well, if you're in the crypto, well, actually I have no idea, like none at all. Anyway, the Lucid Air Touring priced from $107,400. And for that cash, you get a real Air, or as Lucid puts it, the quote unquote quintessential Air. And again, the quote Lucid, they say that this offers a fine balance of performance, luxury, design, and space. The good news here is also it can be optioned with the big glass canopy and that Dream Drive Pro. Range-wise, the Air Touring can go the same 406 miles as the Air Pure, but it's just going to do them a little bit faster thanks to its extra 140 horsepower over the Air Pure. If you're stuck with the math, I think that comes out to 620 horsepower even, which again, that's a ton of power. And look, I've said it before and I'll say it again, the horsepower numbers that are coming out of these new EVs is just completely nuts, and I love all of it. Anyway, like the entry-level Air Pure, full details are going to be available soon, so we're going to go back and revisit this shortly. So while we're on the subject, why don't we do a quick refresher on the rest of the Lucid Air lineup. Now, if you've seen any of these in the wild, it's most likely the Air Grand Touring that's turned your head, and this fella isn't cheap. Nope. Check it. This thing starts at $154,000, but you do get a lot. I mean, specifically and amazingly, we're looking at 516 miles of range. Yep, it's over 500 miles. Seriously. Along with that, this has enough horsepower to reverse the spin of the Earth with up to 1,050 horsepower. Pretty insane numbers, and we're sort of just getting started. I mean, if the Air Grand Touring just isn't exclusive or expensive enough, then there's the Dream Edition, but it's basically been sold out forever. Price-wise, this fella comes in just shy of 170 grand. Yeah, look, I know these things are mega expensive. This is just me thinking out loud here, but how on earth are there so many people that can afford this stuff? I mean, seriously. Anyway, there's 2 flavors here that you can choose from between the performance version and the range version. Yep. And the name sort of tells you everything you need to know here, but for the specifics, the performance version is ripe with 1,111 horsepower with a range of 471 miles, while the range version actually sacrifices a little bit of power down to 933 horsepower, but range is just crazy at 520 miles. And lastly, there's the Air Sapphire, which we just recently covered, so if you got an extra like 6 minutes or something to burn when this video is done, hey, why don't you just like swing by and give it a watch? Anyway, this thing is just all kinds of stupid, ridiculous, and awesome, and priced accordingly. Yep, I was a $250,000, but this will break 200 miles an hour and have well over 1,200 horsepower and out-accelerate literally everything that's not a Rimac. Oh, and we're expecting to hear a little bit more of the details about this thing at this upcoming event, so again, we'll probably have to revisit the whole Sapphire thing entirely once this new info drops. So anyway, if you made it this far, hey, what do you say? How about a sub? I mean, more Lucid stuff is in the works, and don't you just kind of want to be the first dude on the block to be in the know?